Welcome to Why We're Fans. I'm Duran, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host, Gennaro.
In all of our episodes, we cover the past, present, and the future of all your favorite NFL football teams.
We love hearing your stories, talking the NFL draft, and reminiscing about the good old days.
If you like the same, be sure to subscribe to this channel and like this episode. And leave a comment below if you want to answer any of our questions.
Follow us on Twitter to stay up to date on our latest interviews. And like we always say, win or lose, we're all fans. Enjoy this episode.
What's going down, how is everybody doing? How's it going? Welcome back to another episode of Why We're Fans. It's your hosts, Gennaro and Duran. And you know what? Welcome back to another episode. I love it. This is a podcast by us, the fans, for the fans, about us, the fans. So I think it's great. Duran, how you going? How you doing today, buddy?
Good. Got another exciting episode coming up here, and a team that's been in the news a little bit, have some question marks in a couple spots. So we'll be sure to touch on every area today.
Yeah, let's get this thing started off right. I'm drinking on some Only cans out here from Barrel Brothers from out here in Windsor. So pretty excited to have this one. This comes from a recommendation from my best friend since I was 5 years old, Juan. So Juan, if you're listening, shout out. Thank you so much for the recommendation. First taste. That's fucking delicious, dude. That's awesome, man. All right. You sipping on anything, or are you just watering it? I know it's Sunday. I sound like a little bit of an alcoholic, but I don't care. It's beer.
I'm on the water today. It's blended into the background, but I got a couple things to do today.
Oh, okay. That's right on. Well, you know what? Our guest is patiently waiting. You ready to bring him in?
Let's do it.
All right. So today we got a representative of Who Dat Nation. We got Sean Mililtello. Sean, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm honored to be on this show. I've watched the last show you sent to me, and I think it's an awesome show. And I'm not drinking any beer. I wish I was. I should have been prepared. I'm sorry, guys.
Okay.
But I was just in the grocery store, and it might be a little unhealthy, but I thought it looked delicious. And it's like this Hershey shake.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I thought that was it's awesome, actually.
Yeah.
It tastes
I
really
bet
good.
it hit the spot.
It sure did. It sure did.
Every once in a while I get a hankering for some chocolate milk, but I'm lactose intolerant, so it makes me a little farty. So, but I go with the almond milk, which is pretty cool. But yeah, man, chocolate milk, that always hits home.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with some good chocolate milk. I tell you that.
So let everybody know where we can find you. Let us know any projects that you're working on. Hype yourself up a little bit, man. Be your spokesman.
Oh, yeah. So this is my Twitter handle right here, Sean_Mililtello1. I do run a page on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and we're trying to get up Twitch a little. It's called Off the Dome Sports. You can see it. My Twitter handle for Off the Dome Sports in my bio. But yeah, we cover the Saints, Pelicans, and LSU sports. Pretty much anything Louisiana we try to cover.
I love it. And all the links will be below. You could click on them in the description. We'll have all your information down there.
Nice.
Before we get started, you got something, G?
Yeah, I'm just curious. I mean, really quick. I know that you cover everything Louisiana. Is LSU DBU?
Ooh.
Not after last year. Last year was awful. I tell you that. But, considering all the people we have in the NFL, I mean, you got to say the last decade we have been DBU. I mean, the people we put in the NFL is ridiculous. And honestly, to only have one championship in the last decade to show for it, man, it pisses me off, honestly. But it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
Yeah, I feel like you guys are like safety you, if anything. I mean, LaRon Landry, you had
Jamal Adams.
Definitely safeties.
Yeah, I agree with that, actually. You got Grant Delpit came out last year.
Yeah.
So
can't wait to see him again this year. Nice and healthy. So
yeah,
he's had plenty of time to recover. So
hell yeah.
I believe he tore his ACL, right?
Achilles.
Achilles.
Achilles, yeah.
It's tough one to come back for, but I mean, with how it is nowadays, they seem to hop back kind of well. No pun intended, but they seem to get better a little bit better.
As far as corners, Ohio might be dishing out a couple more guys there, and one of these guys very well, Marshawn Lattimore, Denzel Ward, Michael Jenkins. They got a couple guys out there, but them, Alabama, LSU, they're just factories.
Yeah.
And whenever my team drafts from there, I'm like, yep, sign them up. Bring them on
Especially when it comes to D-line. I mean, they always put out some nasty D linemen.
Yes, sir.
You got both the Bosa brothers. You got Young. You got Cameron Hayward. Like, it's just nasty.
Yeah. All right, G, you ready to start digging in?
Yeah, man. Let's start it. Let's get going. Sean. So let us know, how did it all start? How did you become a Saints fan?
So, I mean, I was born and raised in Louisiana. So obviously that's why I'm so big on Louisiana sports, because, I'm a homer. So I'm going to support my home team no matter what. And you know what? It wasn't always Sean Payton and Drew Brees. I mean, I was a fan before that, and it was some rough days. I mean, Aaron Brooks was our quarterback, and that was not fun to watch. But, my family, I didn't necessarily live in New Orleans. My family's from New Orleans, though. So our entire family's New Orleans. So I was born into a Saints family, and I can remember kind of the first game I watched, and it was the River City Relay when we played the Jaguars, and we had all them laterals at the end of the game to, try to tie the game up, and then John Carney misses the extra point. That was one of the first games I actually remember watching with my dad. So that's how it pretty much all started. My uncle, he has season tickets. He goes every year. I try to at least make it, 2-3 games a year if possible. And, and that's how it really started. Just family,
I love it.
That's awesome.
That's usually our most popular answer. And of course, you being a fan of LSU and all things New Orleans, that makes sense. So are there any generations above you, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, anyone else that passed it down to you?
Yeah, so it's mostly my dad's family. My mom's family, they're not really sports people. But my dad's family, my dad watched Saints football, and then his brother, my uncle, watches Saints football. My grandpa watches. My grandma watches Saints football. I mean, it basically is passed down to each generation of the family, and I mean, every time we talk to my family, it's always, what do you think about so and so on the Saints? My grandma is really bad with names, so she'll just say the numbers. Yeah, what do you think of number 7? She loves Taysom Hill, so she always goes talks about him. He said, "What do you think about number 7? You look pretty good." So, but yeah, it's definitely a generational thing.
I love.
Are you the biggest fan now? Do you take that crown?
Oh yeah, I mean, I would say. I mean, okay, my uncle, he's pretty big. Like, the reason why he's got season tickets. His season tickets were actually passed down. I guess they were my great aunt and uncle. They actually had season tickets since the first year the Saints had played in 1967. So those season tickets were passed down to him, and he's had them since the 90s. So I don't know. I feel like I am, but my uncle would have a lot of say in that.
That's a question that I ask some people about. Did you know any season ticket holders? And to me, that's like the holy grail, especially from your team. Did you ever get a couple of them pitched down to you a week where they couldn't make it or something like that?
It's crazy. My uncle has never brought me to a Saints game. I've always had to buy my own tickets, man. Because, when they suck, I was too young, or I wasn't even born yet. Well, I was born in 96. So, a lot of times they suck. So it would, like I said, when I was growing up in the high school and elementary school, grade school, I was about 2 hours away from New Orleans. So, we weren't going to go, and, it sucked, and obviously when they got good, he's not going to give up that extra ticket. Somebody's going to take that ticket. So we always had to buy our own ticket, and that's why we only got to go about 2 or 3 games. But when I get older and have more stable, job situation, I'm gonna buy me some season tickets because now I only live about an hour away, so that will work out one day.
I bet you that commute's nothing too. That hour commute, it'll probably be like 30 minutes away. People are driving nowadays.
Right.
Not for that payoff to watch a game. Do you remember the very first Saints game that you went to?
All right, my very first Saints game, it was against the Green Bay Packers, Monday Night Football. I believe it was 2007 or 2008. I believe it was Aaron Rodgers' first year starting, and we absolutely demolished them. I remember Marcus Colston had an 80-yard reception to the house. That was an awesome game to go to. We're on the bottom of the Superdome. It was an awesome game. And then went to a bunch of games against the Falcons because our Falcons is our top rival. It's always a heated battle. And I've been to some really good games, Saints versus Falcons. But the Packers game in 2008, actually, I'm wrong here. I went during Katrina year, Hurricane Katrina. They played in Tiger Stadium. Yeah. And I went to a couple games in Tiger Stadium. So technically, those were my first Saints games. But my first Saints game in the Superdome wasn't until 2008 against the Packers.
I'm looking at that game right now. That was a great game to go to. Number one, the Saints just demolished 51-29. It was Aaron Rodgers' very first year starting. In that game, he had very un-Aaron Rodgers like nowadays. 248 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Wow, 3 interceptions.
That does not happen very often. And then a classic Drew Brees game, 323 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. So his quarterback rating was a 157.5, and that might be perfect. I'm not quite.
Wow.
It's maybe 158 is perfect, but he only had 6 incomplete passes that game, and yeah, that's damn near a perfect score for that. But yeah, great game to go to. You got to see really 2 legends. You didn't know it at the time, but Aaron Rodgers and Drew Brees, of course. So yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, for sure.
So I see you're rocking. Looks like it's what I want to say. It's Jared Cook.
No,
Joe Horn.
Joe Horn.
Yeah,
Joe Horn.
I know. I'm just messing.
Wait, look. The Saints fan base absolutely hates Jared Cook now. And honestly, I did not like him last year either, man. For some reason, I don't think he liked playing down here. But, after this year, he's pretty much gone. I believe he's a free agent. So,
yeah,
it's whatever now. So, but, yeah, I'm rocking the Joe Horn jersey. I actually just got this around Christmas time. I thought it was cool. And actually, Joe Horn used to be the favorite player, but obviously Drew Brees kind of eclipsed that. But if we're not talking Drew Brees, Joe Horn was my favorite Saints player.
Nice,
awesome. So, what was your first jersey?
My first jersey was a Joe Horn, but it was a kid's jersey. It was a kid's jersey.
Yeah.
Not does it fit anymore, or?
No, this is like.
Do you look like Zeke when you put it on with the belly shot?
I could probably barely put it on my arm. Yeah. So yeah, I would say that would be my first jersey. I mean, I wish I still had it. Maybe you could put it on the wall or something, but I don't have it anymore.
Do you remember that brand?
Reebok. It was probably Reebok.
Reebok.
Oh, Reebok. Yeah. I hated those years, the Reebok years.
Yeah,
I think those ones are classic. I still see them. I'm like, yeah, because no one had like the stitch on ones back then. They were all just the same. And after a year or two, they'd start fading a little bit. You couldn't wash them. You just had to rock them the way that they were.
I remember one year at the NFL went Puma. I was like, ugh.
Yeah, the hell? They did do that. Was just they're probably trying to leverage some money.
I know,
some way there. Growing up in the area, did you ever see any players in public?
Just only during the game, like after the game. I never. Now, I've seen some NBA players tailgating. If that's odd.
That's pretty cool.
I only seen one. Yeah, he was tall as heck. Yeah, Greg Monroe.
Okay. From Georgetown, right?
Yeah, he's from New Orleans, and I just seen him. He was just tailgating outside the Superdome. We're walking to the game. We're about to go inside, and it was like tailgating. A whole bunch of tailgaters and cars. And there goes Greg Monroe. Just looks like he's with his family or something tailgating. I thought that was pretty cool. So
that's cool shit. So when you're watching the games, I take it like you watch it from home or the bar or something. Like, are you normally, because I know that you're involved in, the Louisiana sports, are you working mainly, or do you get to, have fun, watch the Saints play?
So I do work a lot. So not all times I get to watch the game fully, but I always try to pull it up on my phone, or sometimes, because where I work is a food place, so we have a TV in the lobby. So we make sure the game's on. So with the sound on. So at least I get to watch it here and there while I'm helping customers, and for the most part I try to get off for the game, and so I can just go home and relax and watch the game. And honestly, oddly enough, sometimes I do like watching the games by myself, so I could just gather up all my own thoughts, and that's how I gathered the information I like to talk about on these shows. But it is fun to watch them with your friends, especially during playoff games and when you get deeper into playoffs. But normally, if I'm not home watching it, it would be at work watching it.
Nice.
I was wondering if you had any like kind of superstitions or something like that. Like you have to wear a certain jersey. Like if they're away, you have to wear an away jersey. Something of that nature.
It might be something that I know I do something. I just don't realize it. It might be like, take a sip of drink every time we get a first down or something like that. I normally try to do that. But I don't really have a true one that I really do on purpose,
Yeah. I just know if like, for me, for instance, if like the Niners were rolling and I'm wearing like a same outfit, I was like, oh, I'm wearing the same outfit the next time they play. I'm buying the same beer. Like I get super superstitious, but it happens. So. See
that my uncle does that. See, so I guess he is the more hardcore fan than I am, because he has a Drew Brees jersey. It's a white one, and he will only wear it the next game if they won. Okay. So he'll keep wearing it until they lose, and then he'll switch out. Yep. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Have you ever got the opportunity to go to any practices or training camps?
Dude, I wanted to so bad, especially the past couple of years, the last years of Drew Brees, but I never got the opportunity. It seems like my uncle gets the opportunity all the time, because he goes every mini camp or training camp, not mini camp, training camp.
Yeah.
They allow to people to watch. But I'd never gotten to see him in person when it comes to practice and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like that's the best way to kind of get an up close and personal look at these guys, especially rookies that you guys just drafted. I mean, sometimes I watch the Cowboys training camp stuff, and you'll see fans literally 10 feet away while the guy's doing bag work, or defensive linemen doing one-on-ones. And I have never been either, and that's definitely on my bucket list too.
Yeah, for sure. I've always wanted to go, for sure.
Yeah, I've been to a Niners training camp, and it was super fun, just because, like Duran said, you can get closer to the players. And I always like to see, me, because I follow the draft, I always like to point out the rookies, like, okay, I want to see how he works. I want to see how he's taking, to the coaching and whatnot. So it was pretty interesting to see. And they always have like a rookie hype thing. So if you're a rookie, you need to hype up the crowd. You need to get them loud, so they'll do something stupid. They'll do something crazy. It's always funny to see the linemen, because they always try to like do the worm or try to do something stupid. So it's pretty fun to see. But like, I'd like to go to a mini camp, a rookie mini camp. I think that'd be more entertaining, because these guys are fighting and clawing to get on that team. So
for free agents.
Yeah,
exactly. Especially the undrafted free agents.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I feel like you guys are like the king of getting those guys.
Yeah, I mean, in fact, like my uncle always tells me the story. He went to the training camp in 2006 when Marcus Colston was a rookie, and he told me he always remembered without even seeing Marcus Colston even run a play yet. He just said, because he was 6'4", almost 220, and soon as he saw him, he knew he was going to make the team. Wow. So, and ever since then, Marcus Colston, probably the best wide receiver in Saints history until Michael Thomas, retires. I would say Michael Thomas is going to get it. Probably the best Saints. But, I would say he surpassed Joe Horn as the best wide receiver in Saints history. So
from Hofstra, right?
Yep. He's actually a 7th round pick, not undrafted. So, but he's from Hofstra. He's I believe he's a Philly guy. He's from Pennsylvania, maybe.
Yeah, I want to say like he's from Pittsburgh. I remember that.
Right.
Got it. I only got one more question in this section, do you have any signed memorabilia? Do you have a Holy Grail ball or something like that?
So I actually just got my first signed. It's a picture, and I got it for Christmas about 2 years ago, and it's a picture inside the Superdome. It's signed by Willie Wolf. Alex Anzalone, weird. It's weird. And then Taryn Armstead also signed it. Okay. Those 3. And I got it actually from my girlfriend's mom for Christmas. So how cool is that? So, but it's on my wall.
Yeah, Willie Roaf's definitely a good one. I mean, Saints legend for sure. So
Anzalone, is he a starter or is he more special teamers?
He was the starter his first year.
Coming out of Florida, right?
Yeah, this year he was really bad. That's why we traded for Quan Alexandra. I don't know. He might
for y'all.
Yeah. Hey, I thought it was a good trade for both sides, though. It made sense for both sides. Got the deal done. But yeah, Alex Angeloni, he's a guy that might not come back next year. Not too sure on that one. So.
Yep.
I just remember that long blonde hair flowing down, on special teams.
Yeah.
So.
He looks like Thor. That's what he looks like.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
Doesn't hit like Thor, but
no, he doesn't. He doesn't cover anything either. That's what he's bad at, covering people.
And that's a must in the NFL these days for those linebackers. You have to cover now.
Yeah, you almost got to be like a safety.
A large safety.
You kind of see that in the NFL nowadays. A lot of teams are drafting safeties and turning them into linebackers. I know that. I'm being selfish here, but Greenlaw, he was an ex-safety. Fred Warner, he was like a joker back at BYU. He played everywhere.
Right.
Philly had one too, the white guy. I forget his name right now.
Gary.
Wasn't it Nate Geary?
Yeah, Nate Geary. Yep. Nate Geary.
Yeah. That's why I believe we only ran 2 linebackers on the field for most of the season. Demario Davis and Anzalone / Quan. Yeah, Demario Davis, man, he's very underrated. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, he comes from the Jets, and then he went to the Browns one year, I want to say.
Yeah.
Before he went to y'all, and everyone's like, man, his career's going down. He goes to you guys and just turns it up, man. I'd love watching that guy play.
Yeah. It kind of similar to Jonathan Filma, because he also played for the Jets. We traded for Filma, though. But another Jets linebacker comes to the Saints and just balls out, man. Demario Davis, I think he's fringe top 5 linebacker in the game right now. You could take him out in and out, but he's up there, man. I'm glad we have him on the team, and he might be the leader on the team. I would say even with last year with Drew Brees, Demario Davis is probably the leader of the team, and he's going to be the future leader for probably the next couple of years.
Hell yeah.
Anything else in this section, G?
Nah, I'm ready to move on.
Let's move on. So you might have spilled the beans a little bit already, but we're going to want to guess your favorite player of all time. I think we can kind of narrow it down to 2 guys right now. Drew Brees, Joe Horn. G, you want to throw anyone else out there?
I mean, I'm big fan of Cam Jordan, but I was going to go with Deuce McAllister because he's an all-time leading rusher. So, and he was fun to watch.
Yep. Deuce.
He sure was. He was a powerful back. And honestly, for how powerful he was an underrated pass catcher. And, he could do things for a big guy that I didn't think was possible, And honestly, he wasn't the fastest guy. He was just big, and and even though he wasn't fast, he was athletic, So kind of like now he wasn't as round as Jerome Bennis, but it's kind of like that same aspect, So like as a running style, just a bowling ball, But I feel like Deuce McAllister was more like a brick wall. So, well, Jerome Bennis was more like a bowling ball, or they call him the bus. So, but Deuce McAllister is certainly a good one. But yeah, my two guys, I don't think anybody's even close to them two. It's Drew Brees and Joe Horn for me. Joe Horn, he's a guy that I loved watching. He brought character to the team. He always wanted to win, and he wanted to look good doing it as well. And then Drew Brees, obviously, if it wasn't for him, man, I don't know where we would be right now. So
yeah. Let's talk about Drew Brees just for a second. Of course, Super Bowl after Katrina, he was the quarterback, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, Comeback Player of the Year, 12-time Pro Bowler. I mean, he's going to go down in Saints history as the best quarterback ever. Career yards, he's number 1 in career yards, touchdowns, and he has the top 13 passing yard seasons for the Saints. So for number 2, he's 46,000 yards ahead of the second place and 375 touchdowns ahead of. So it's going to be so hard to catch this guy in any one of those categories. But I think the big question right now is, do you think he's coming back? I mean, at the beginning, it seemed like for sure no. And now it seems like a couple of things are getting tossed around that could possibly come back.
Yeah, I know everybody's seen that video of him working out the other day, and he's not coming back. I don't think he's coming back. I don't think he should either. So,
do you think it's because of cap or because of age or because?
I just think, the way he carried himself after the game versus the Buccaneers in the playoffs, you can just tell, like, he's not coming back. He's taking a moment on the field. He was acting like that was his last game he ever played. The dude was tore up, man. He cracked ribs, other stuff going on. I don't really remember what it was, but it's just crazy, man. He was, you got to really, like, applaud him for his toughness, because all the injuries he had this year was crazy, especially at 41, 42 years old. But I think it's time to hang it up. I don't think he's coming back. Honestly, he might just be trying to get back in shape for himself and try to, like, rehab his injuries, make sure that he's not, damaged in the long run when he gets older, because dude's got like 4 or 5 kids. So I'll see him come back.
Yeah, I agree with that. And Michael Thomas, he even said after one of the games, like, I'm playing this game for Drew. He is pretty much saying, like, Drew's done, and I got to come out here for my guy and do it one more time for him.
Yeah, we all saw that moment he had with Jameis Winston.
Right.
Oh, yeah. I've actually forgot about that. I forgot about that one.
Like, it's your team now, but, like, I heard it could be from some rumors on Twitter, but I read something. It's like, well, he knew that the camera was on him, and Jameis was the closest person to him, and I guess Tyson Hill wasn't even close to him, so he turned to Jameis and said, "This is your team now." I heard he didn't even say that, but I don't know.
Who knows?
Rumors.
Who knows?
I mean, Jameis Winston, he's a guy. It kind of felt like he grew up a Saints fan. The way he talks about Drew Brees, he says he idolizes him, and I think Drew knew that. So obviously, you don't want to put down people that idolize you. You want to, bring them up. And, Jameis Winston, actually, I think I'm going to say the Jameis Winston talk, because it's going to tie into Russell Wilson. And whenever y'all want to ask that, I'll talk about Jameis Winston.
We'll talk about that at the end when we get to your future expectations and stuff.
Right.
Did you ever have anybody? We're talking about players here. So did you ever have anybody that was on your team that you fucking hated? Like, you're like, man, why is this guy in the squad? Like, what's he doing still on the team? He's taking up some space, cap space.
Well, the easy one right now is Andrews Pete, man. Like, this guy, I don't know how he got to a Pro Bowl twice, man. Like, and the thing with him, the reason why he, gets his recognition is because he's a very hit or miss guy. You know, when he looks good, he looks really good. But when he looks bad, like he gives up some bad plays. Like, you know, he gave up a lot of hits to Drew, and a lot of hits. I mean, literally hurt Drew. You know, so he's a guy right now. I would say I absolutely hate. A guy in the past, I would say like Jairus Byrd, who paid him all that money. He didn't do jack shit. Kobe Fleener was another one.
Oh yeah.
Dude, man, like he was kind of garbage. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, that wasn't a good move. The Colby Fleener hype. I remember that for sure.
Right. Hey, everybody's telling us to draft him in fantasy. I didn't do that.
Yeah, smart man. Speaking of just receivers and stuff, and back to Drew Brees. If Drew Brees was Batman, who would you say his Robin is? Is there a receiver or someone out there who you just picture catching touchdowns or something like that from him?
So his Robin for many years was certainly Marcus Colston. And then once Colston retired, or we let him go, then he retired, Michael Thomas.
Okay.
I mean, you look at it, he leads all wide receivers in slant passes, and he was pretty much up there in targets. So that tells you like Drew Brees only wanted to go to him because he knew he was going to make a play. He knew he's always going to catch the ball. I mean, his catch rate is ridiculous. I mean, I don't get to slander people, call him a slant boy. He could do more than that. He just runs a lot of slants because, for one, nobody can't stop it. For two, Drew Brees, you know, the last 2 years, you know, he wasn't able to push the ball, you know, and what are you going to do about it? So he's always going to throw it short. So the most effective short route is a slant, and people still can't stop it. So
yeah, you can't hate on that. If anyone had a guy that could move the chain on third downs, get those, they would take it. So you know what I mean? Run the slant. If you know it's going to be 90% of the time, it's going to be a damn catch, then just do it.
And a stat a lot of people don't know about last year, when he had a big season last year for 1,800 yards, he was actually first amongst all wide receivers in yards after catch. He was top 5 in the NFL as a whole. So just because, you know, he runs routes up to 10 to 15 yards or even 20 yards doesn't make him a bad wide receiver. No. Honestly, he was the best wide receiver last year, period.
Yeah.
And he made plays, you know? So
yeah, just to backtrack a second, I remember you mentioned Demario Davis being a top 5 linebacker. PFF has him as number 5. Last year, of course, they had, not last year, the year before that Michael Thomas is the number 1 wide receiver. So, that just backs up a couple of those things. But Drew Brees, I think you're 100% right saying Marquise Colston. His most touchdowns to a receiver, number 1, Marquise Colston, 72. Number 2, Jimmy Graham, 51. Number 3, Lance Moore, 38. And then number 4, Michael Thomas with 29. So Drew Brees made, a lot of those guys some money. I mean, I'm looking at Lance Moore right there, really. I mean, I think Marquise Colston, Jimmy Graham, Michael Thomas, they could do their thing on a lot of teams. But, yeah, Lance Moore was one of those guys.
Lance Moore is pretty much the only slot wide receiver Drew Brees had in his whole tenure with the Saints. You can go back, I believe I actually just talked about this on my last episode on Off the Dome with my co-host. Lance Moore in 2008 had over, it was either 2008 or 2007, he had over 120 targets. And he was a slot wide receiver. Yeah. He's the only good slot wide receiver we had on this team when Drew Brees was on the team. So Lance Moore is one of my favorite Saints players of all time. He's definitely top 10, top 5 for me.
Got it. That's weird. I don't really remember him as a fantasy football guy. I might have just been too, but when I hear that, I think of fantasy football, all those damn targets. He's got to do something with it, you know?
He actually had over 10 touchdowns that year. He didn't get 1,000 yards.
Yeah.
I think he got 900. He did have a 1,000-yard season, but he didn't have nearly as much as touchdowns he had in 2008. But yeah, he was a definitely key component of that offense because, you know, you had Colston, You had Lance Moore in the slot. And you had Devlin Henderson. We had Robert Meacham. So so
Meacham.
We had a good little core there. So.
I do see that year he had 928 yards, 10 touchdowns, which is great. That was 2008. And then he did have 1,000-yard season his 2012, his second to last year at the Saints, 1,041. So he just broke that 1,000. But honestly, underrated guy. When I looked at that list, I was like, wow, that's a lot of damn touchdowns for him.
Another undrafted guy too, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a guy that started off with the Browns practice squad. Then he got cut, and then we ended up picking him up, putting him on our practice squad. His first year with us, he was basically just a special teamers, and it wasn't until about second year with us is when he got implemented in the offense. So I'm kind of hoping Deontay Harris becomes that guy this year or for the upcoming year. He's another guy that's kind of similar in a way.
Got it. For sure. I got one more Drew Brees question.
Yeah.
And it's just, do you remember the whole, he was drafted to the Chargers. He got hurt. Do you remember the trade? Do you remember when he came in, what your first impressions were?
So it was back in 2006, and I remember him playing for the Chargers, and I do remember him getting hurt. I believe John Lynch is the one who tackled him, and I believe it was in the end zone, and tore his arm up, basically turned his arm in 360 degrees.
Yeah, it was recovering a fumble. He jumped on and went right into his shoulder, yeah.
Right. I just remember my dad just talking about, wow, we're getting this guy. This guy's damaged goods. Miami doesn't even want him. So that was, I would say whatever my dad say at the time because, I was a younger, I was a kid. So, yeah, that was our thought process when we first brought him in, like, oh, we're getting damaged goods. We didn't know what we were getting. So,
Yep. You want to move on and talk about Joe Horn, G?
Joe Horn?
Yeah. There's just one thing that when I hear Joe Horn, I think of the celebration.
Oh, hell yeah. We called up his agent.
That's when celebrations were at an all-time high. And did he have it in his sock or something? He pulled out the cell phone.
It was underneath the padding around the goalpost.
Oh, right. Oh yeah. Okay.
Yep.
T.O. had the pin in his sock.
That's he had the Sharpie.
Right.
Yeah. Do you have anything else that stands out about Joe Horn?
With Joe Horn, one thing I liked is that a lot of people, I don't know, they seem to look down on people who went to community college first, then to the league, or even if they were at a D1, went back to, they always seem to look down. They always seem like, oh, that's a character flaw. And I never looked upon it, but I remember Joe Horn, I think he came from a community college as well. And then he went on to, let's see here. Yeah, he went on to, I can't even pronounce that name.
Yep, it's got to be a small college then.
Yeah, it's a super small college.
Sean, is any?
I believe that's a Mississippi college. So, I couldn't pronounce that honestly. I'm not really good at pronouncing words. If I had to try, Atawabla Community College. That sounds like a Native American name.
So. Yeah, it does.
But
Sean, anything stand out to you about Joe Horn? Anything specific that you remember?
I just remember him. Aaron Brooks had a good connection. He was a dominant wide receiver in his heyday. He could blow past you over the top. He could run some crisp, smooth routes. Honestly, kind of similar to Michael Thomas, man. Yeah. So Joe Horn, I'm trying to think. I wouldn't compare him to Michael Thomas. I'm trying to think of today's wide receiver that would be a good comparison. I can't really think of something off the top of my head right now. But it was just crazy because he was a flashy guy. You knew he was going to catch the ball, something big was going to happen. Yeah. So he was going to make a spectacular catch, or he was going to make a play happen with his feet. And Aaron Brooks had some really good arm talent. It might have not been there mentally for him. He wasn't that good of a quarterback, but he had extreme arm talent, and him and Joe Horn had a great connection.
They did. If you look at Joe Horn's quarterbacks, Aaron Brooks threw him 39 touchdowns. No one threw him more than 7 after that. So that was Joe Horn and Aaron Brooks all day. And the guy that threw him 7, Jeff Blake. I don't even know who that is.
Yeah, he got hurt.
He played for the Bengals.
Okay.
Yeah. He got hurt. He was our starter. The first year we won a playoff game. That's when Jeff Blake was actually playing pretty well, and then he got hurt. I believe you said how many games he played with the Saints that year?
I'm not sure.
It was only a couple games. It wasn't that a lot. And he got hurt. Aaron Brooks stepped in, and that was it. That's all she wrote. Jeff Blake never became a starter quarterback. Jake Delhomme was also like the 3rd string quarterback. If you remember him, he's quarterback of the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah, back in the day.
So we had some weird quarterbacks, I would say. But like I said, Aaron Brooks, ever since he took over, won our first playoff game against the Rams, he was our quarterback up to when we got Sean Payton. And, after we got Sean Payton, he was gone. So
there it is.
You guys still have a weird quarterback in Taysom Hill, man.
Man, I love Taysom to death. And I was telling people, man, he could be a serviceable quarterback. He can't be. He's better than a lot of backup quarterbacks out there. He's probably better than some starters. He has a fumbling issue, though. He also has an issue with holding on the ball too long. He doesn't know what to do with the ball, which doesn't make sense to me because he's a runner. If you don't know what to do with the ball, just run it, dude. Go get that first down.
Yeah, exactly.
Is there any players that you could think of? I know we've mentioned a lot that are kind of underrated or that people don't really realize. I know we mentioned Lance Moore. You guys had a ton of wide receivers for sure.
Yeah, Willie Snead.
Who? Willie Snead there. Yeah.
Another known name.
With 2 guys, Reggie Bush, Darren Sproles, both of those guys, ridiculous amount of catches out of the backfield. But one thing that I was just looking through all the past stats, and from 2006 to today, your guys' running back duos are really good. Started Deuce McAllister, Reggie Bush, then Reggie Bush, Pierre Thomas, Pierre Thomas, Chris Ivory, and then it went to Sproles, Pierre Thomas, Mark Ingram, Pierre Thomas, Mark Ingram, Tim Hightower, and then today we had Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, Latavius Murray. So there's always 2 guys there that could tote the rock at any point.
Forgot about Ricky.
Oh, we drafted.
Ricky.
Traded all our draft picks for that guy, man.
Yep.
That was crazy. I mean, he was a once in a generation talent, but he just didn't want to play football, man.
Yeah.
He wasn't in it. So, but you mentioned duos. Even our 3rd running back was pretty good. You had guys like Mike Bell, Aaron Stecker, Kyrie Robinson for a year.
Yeah.
Kyrie Robinson, man, he just came out of nowhere. Sean Payton has a knack of finding these running backs. And a lot of people don't know he was a running back coach at San Diego State when Marshall Faulk was there. So he's got an eye for running backs. He kind of falls under the same situation like Mike Shanahan. Mike Shanahan was always like that. He always found a good running back. I believe they're from the same college, Southern Illinois. Not too sure on that one, but they're kind of similar. They kind of cross paths. I think that's how they do it. But yeah, man, Sean Payton always finds a running back, sometimes out of nowhere. Pierre Thomas, an undrafted guy. We did an underrated Saints players list on my last show. He was my 3rd underrated player of all time for the Saints. But you asked a guy that we didn't bring up. I would have to say Jabari Greer. He was a shutdown corner for us. And not only he was underrated for the Saints or on the Saints, he was underrated league wide. I'm not gonna say he was as talented as Marshawn Lattimore, but he was pretty damn good.
Oh yeah,
another guy. That's another guy that I wouldn't have thought of. That's why I asked those questions. The fans always know one of those deep guys in there that just did it for the team. G, anything else for players?
Nothing else for players, but like I know our next topic is is coaches. I mean,
Is there only one answer?
pretty much. I mean,
your
he
favorite
said
coach?
he mentioned he was born in '96, so I'm pretty sure the only one. I mean, do you
Yeah.
remember
Yeah.
Jim Haslett?
Yeah, I remember Jim Haslett. I just remember he was, not that great of a coach. Subpar coach, 8-8 every year.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So of course your favorite coach. I mean,
Sean.
I'm pretty sure it's this for any Saints fan at this point.
Either him or Jim Mora. That would be your two
Okay.
answers from anybody, old or new.
Mhm.
So
I think Sean Payton, of course, getting that Katrina Super Bowl just kind of took over for the city. And, as you can see nowadays where they're winning and stuff, to me, it seems like he's lightening up a little bit. He's doing the celebrations in the locker room. I love his Jordan game. He's always wearing some nice kicks out there. And man, he's definitely one of my favorite coaches, and his offensive scheme is really second to none. He's one of those guys that's been doing it forever. So you can't go wrong there.
He's the one that got away from you guys.
Yeah, he used to be a Cowboys coach,
Yeah.
offensive coordinator.
he's a Bill Parcells, Tom Coughlin guy. He even played under Mike Ditka when he was a quarterback for the Bears. So he's played and coached under some pretty hard coaches. So that kind of explains the way he is. And then, like you just said, I thought you brought up a good point. He has adapted over the years because he needs to be a very hard-nosed coach, all the way up to, I say, after we had them 3, 7, and 9 seasons. He was very frustrated there in that time. He could have went to the Cowboys. I think he was fixing to, but then we made that playoff run. It was when we had all them rookies, that rookie class. And you seen him adapt to being a hard-nosed coach to more of a player's coach now. He's a top 5 coach in the NFL right now. He's one of the best offensive minds to ever coach the game. But to me, he kind of frustrates me with his play calling because he does get cocky. He does get petty too. And it costs him sometimes. And honestly, man, people want to slander Drew Brees for his noodle arm. That's what we like to call it. But honestly, we could have won a Super Bowl with Drew, no matter if he was hurt or had a noodle arm, because, Peyton Manning was able to do it his last year. He was completely trash. He was worse than Drew Brees was this year. And Drew Brees played with a lot of injuries. Before Drew Brees got hurt this year, he was actually not half bad. He was a very efficient quarterback. So I just feel like we didn't, even though we were top 10 in rushing and all that, I just don't think we ran the ball enough. We should have been number 1 in rushing because if you go back, besides one game this year, which was the playoff game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we had 4 turnovers. If we ran the ball 20 times or more the entire year, we won. If we run less than 20 times, we lost.
Yeah.
So if we would have just ran the ball with Kamara and Murray, and that's another thing, his stubbornness not to use Latavius Murray frustrates the hell out of me because Latavius Murray is a sneaky good running back.
He had a sneaky good game this year too. I forget what week it was, but one of those weeks he had a really good game. I forget when it was, but Sean Payton. I mean, you mentioned it, just his offensive scheme and stuff. One thing that I love about him, he kills it in the draft. I don't know if he's in charge of personnel or what it is, but every year he gets 1, 2, 3 guys that are legit starters for you guys. And I mean, that's where team building really starts, and he's pretty good at it.
Yeah, he's highly involved in the draft. There's pretty much 3 guys, Sean Payton, Mickey Loomis, and Jeff Ireland. Those are the 3 guys that makes all the decisions as far as scouting, drafting, and free agency. So yeah, I would say you're absolutely right. He plays a big part in that, and he's always at the combine. He's one of them coaches that is glued to the combine, even though we're not going to have one this year.
Yeah.
He does draft well. He does find some talent. Like I was saying earlier, he seems to find a running back out of nowhere at times. Nowadays it's a little different. You had Mark Ingram. He drafted in the first round. You had Kamara he drafted, but in years past, he was able to get him undrafted, so he's definitely a talent finder for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember, what was it? I think it was 2012. He had that Bounty Gate scandal.
Bounty Gate.
Right?
Mhm.
And he could have, one thing I did like is that he's a family guy. He went and served as I think an offensive coordinator for his son's team or something like that.
Mhm.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Imagine that.
Like you can just sit back in the press box and watch. He's like, you know what? I'm going to step out altogether, let Vit run it and whatnot, and just coach my son's team.
Yeah, that was a very odd year. I mean, I would say, and a lot of people calls us cheaters and all that stuff. And honestly, man, like, I feel like we got screwed. And Saints fans will always tell you that. I mean, but Goodell, honestly, he could fuck off. Honestly, Roger Goodell.
You're not the only one that says that. I think that there were way more teams doing that in the NFL, especially during that time. And they unfortunately made an example out of you guys.
For sure.
Suspending the coach, Greg Williams, of course. To me, I remember that's how defensive coordinators talked. That's how defensive coaches talked. But yeah, they wanted to clean up the game a little bit, and unfortunately had to use them as a example and a couple players on defense. I know Vilma originally got in trouble, but they ended up taking that back. Tagliabue, the commissioner before Goodell, came in and kind of was like, all right, you're doing a little too much here. Let me help out. And the players aren't going to take as much responsibility as the coaches. So, I forgot about that. But, yeah, that's definitely part of Sean Payton's history, that one little gap year he has in his resume.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the part of the reasons why we went 7-9 for 3 straight years. It kind of set us back because we lost a good amount of draft picks. Obviously, Sean Payton wasn't there for a whole year. It kind of hurt us in development. We did get Akeem Hicks that year though, but we ended up trading him, and now he's a monster for some other team, the Bears. But yeah, I mean, it was just crazy, and I'm not saying it was right,
Yeah.
But it is kind of football, You're going out there, even intentionally or not. You're gonna hurt them. It's tackling. It's tackle football. So.
Yep.
It's not like they were doing like late hits or anything like that.
Ooh, they were getting close. That Favre game, they were getting kind of close.
One thing I remember is that the recording right before the 49ers game, that playoff game where Pierre Thomas got knocked out, they were talking about Alex Smith. Yeah, that guy. He has a weak head. Hit him high. Yeah. And little number 10, which was Kyle Williams at the time. I hate that guy right now. But they're like, he's got an ankle injury. Tackle him low. And he knew all the injuries. He knew where to. I mean, at the same time, I think the players know, like, hey, man, like, they got a couple of injuries here and there, a couple of nicks and knacks. I mean, if you hit them hard, make them quit.
Yeah. They still know that these days. It's just they don't throw it all in a pot and celebrate.
Right. Yeah. We all remember like the old school Miami days. Like, oh yeah, we had a couple bounties. You know what I mean? Right. Uncle Luke paid us. So.
Yep.
For sure.
Moving on to our next topic. I think you mentioned it already. Your earliest Saints memory. You mentioned the River City relay, and I just. While we were talking, I rewatched that play, and one thing that stood out is I forgot how close the field goals were that he missed. It's not the extra point, and to me, I was actually thinking that play got them into field goal range, and he missed the field goal. But no, it was the 2-yard line extra point that the kicker missed, and man, that's a heartbreaker for sure.
Yeah, John Carney actually bought his jersey. They had it in the Superdome on sale one year, and I ended up buying it for $20. You can't beat that. Funny. It's funny because he actually ended up to be a really good kicker for us. I would say, other than Morton Anderson, he's probably the best kicker in Saints history.
Yeah.
Maybe Tom Dempsey, the guy that set the field goal record, but otherwise, a lot of people hated him after that. He just missed an extra point. I can remember my dad, we're watching the game. he was just cussing up a storm, man. And we did all that work just to miss the extra point and lose the game. It was just classic Saints. That's all we had to say. Classic Saints, you know?
Yeah, you guys, I feel like you guys had a lot of good memories. I mean, I can bring up I forget his name. Tracy Porter, right? The interception in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
I thought that was a game changer.
Oh,
for
the
sure.
Super Bowl.
Yeah, Super Bowl year.
Yeah, Super Bowl.
You guys spoke of Robert Meacham. In one game I remember, it was against the Redskins. Breeze throws an interception, and he strips the ball and runs it all the way back.
Yeah,
I remember that. I'm like, oh my god, like it'd be dope if someone stripped the ball. And here
dude, that was so awesome.
Taking the ball out, and I was like, oh shit. Not even a fan of the Saints or the Redskins, just a fan of the game. I just remember that for sure.
Yeah, that was right before halftime too, and I can remember that their field goal kicker missed like 3 or 4 kicks, and like I can remember my dad already turned off the game. I was like, you know what, I'm gonna go watch this in my room. I'm not giving up, and we ended up coming back and winning. And honestly, man, it was that game and the Miami game because both of them games we trailed that year. And we were trailing pretty big, and then we came back to win. And that's how I kind of knew, like, you know, we got something special here. The comeback, to play that bad, beginning the game, and be down that much to come back and win, I thought that was pretty special. And I thought after that, we could make it pretty far. So,
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking about favorite memories now, so let's dive right back in. Do you have an all-time favorite memory being a Saints fan? I mean, you guys do have the crazy Super Bowl year. I mean, I don't know many teams could touch that. It could be the Falcons losing the Super Bowl. It could be anything. What do you got?
So, yeah, there's a bunch of them. I would say, obviously, when Tracy Porter had that interception, it was crazy, man. You know, we had like I said, my family had a Super Bowl party that year. We invited all our friends. When he picked off the interception, we were all jumping up and down because, you know, we're not used to this, man. We're Saints fan. We've been bad for a long time, and to get to that point, and he intercepts the ball, it's pretty much nail in the coffin.
Yeah,
it was just such a surreal moment. Also, back in 2006, the Steve Gleason block punt.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
The first game back in the Dome after Katrina. I remember vividly what I was doing that night, and when he blocked that punt, it was just sent chills up my whole entire body. And then a lot of people don't talk about this because we ultimately lost the game and we pretty much got blown out. It was the NFC Championship game versus the Bears in 2006. Reggie Bush, we did like a running back swing route, and Drew Brees just throws it all over all these defenders, and he takes it to the house, and he did a little taunting to Brian Urlacher. And I was like, you know, and we're kind of struggling. I believe we were down like 10-6, not too sure on that, but we came back right back to score. I was like, man, we got this. You know, we're fighting back, but ultimately the Bears were really good that year. Their defense was amazing. Rex Grossman oddly tore us up, but
yeah,
I remember that as well.
Yep, that Reggie Bush play, 88-yard pass from Drew Brees. It was 7-16 at the time. That made it 14-16.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, but you're right. You guys did end up losing that game, unfortunately. But yeah, that was a good football days, man. Reggie Bush catching the ball from Drew Brees. I mean,
that was our first NFC championship ever.
Doesn't get much better than that. The reason I brought up the Falcons losing the Super Bowl too is just because on Reddit, the #1 all-time post on Reddit says the Falcons just blew a 25-point lead in the Super Bowl. So I know that was a big one for Falcons fans.
I remember watching it, and they're up 28-3, and I'm like, damn it, the Falcons are finally going to win a Super Bowl because they already been to like 2 of them in the past. And I was like, damn it, now we're going to have to hear Falcon fans talk and all this stuff. And then, you know, next thing you know, I turn it on in the fourth quarter, and the Patriots are about to take the lead. And I'm like, okay, the Falcons just choked this huge lead. It was pretty funny to watch for them just to choke that lead. But for me, I wouldn't say that would be a top memory. But I mean, it was fun to watch him choke like that. So
one game that I actually rewatched this week, it wasn't a playoff game, but is a really important game. 2018, the Steelers, Week 16. It's the one where Juju Smith-Schuster fumbled at the very end, and it was an important game for seeding. I think the Saints ended up getting home field advantage, and the Steelers ended up getting knocked out of the playoffs because of that. And that was also the last time we saw Antonio Brown as a Steeler. If you recall, he didn't show up the next week because they weren't going to make it to the playoffs, and he was on the sideline with the fur coat. But during that game, Alvin Kamara killed it, especially in the passing game. He was I love his contact balance, his breaking tackle ability, and he's one of my favorite players in the NFL. He was killing it, of course. And Antonio Brown actually killed it that game too. 14 receptions, 185 yards, 2 touchdowns. But
he was giving Lattimore the business. I can tell you that.
Yeah, he was.
And he was letting him know too. He kept getting up and looking over at the sideline. And all the way down to that last drive, Antonio Brown was hyped. And of course, because he was getting the ball, 14 catches. But I won't forget that one. Juju Smith-Schuster fumble at the very end. Cam Jordan got a penalty for unnecessary roughness because they pretty much won the game, and he was talking some shit to the offensive line after that one. Juju on the ground, and he made some speech afterwards like it'll never happen again or some shit like that. But that was a huge game.
Yeah, definitely. I forget what I mean. It's a different game. It's back in the Super Bowl. But was it right after halftime, the kickoff where you guys did the onside kick to Leonard Hankerson?
Yep. It sure did.
That was such a ballsy move. I remember that. I remember that everybody announcing like, no, that's no class. I'm like, dude, that's a game changer. That's
Sean Payton.
It worked out.
And Sean Payton basically told everybody before the game he was going to do that, which is the crazy part. Because he always talked about how Bill Parcells, when he coached for the Giants, and Bill Parcells had like a fake punt or something like that, and they scored a touchdown. And he always talked about that, and he was always talking about you have to have an element of surprise in the Super Bowl. So, and he was telling people he was going to do an onside kick after halftime. He was telling people that, which is crazy.
Oh shit.
Yeah. So I'm not too sure if he was telling people like reporters or anything. I believe it maybe just been his team, his team. He was just telling people like, hey, if we're kicking it off at halftime, we're gonna kick an onside kick.
I totally forgot about that one. And they have it here, the number 9 top Super Bowl play of all time.
Wow.
Yeah, that is ballsy. And really, I just watched it. They shouldn't have got it. It was whatever the guy went to grab it and it bounced off of him and the Saints got it. But that's football.
He actually was telling the officials that he wanted to go a certain way on the field. So like when they kicked the ball, it would have been on their sideline. They said at the Colts. So he said that played a big part.
Okay.
Getting it, their way,
Yep. Yeah, I see Sean Payton walking out to talk to the referees before the play.
Yeah.
Yep, that's awesome.
Yeah. He mentioned, Sean, you mentioned the River City Relay.
Yep.
And man, I was talking to my brother earlier and he was talking about Aaron Brooks and how, he was rocking Air Force Ones on turf and how dope that was. And I thought like, man, this guy is, Brooks is, super swaggy. He has all this swag and whatnot. Remember him being dropping back quarterback. I forget who he initially threw it to, but I just remember, I mean, if you kind of think about it, Deuce McAllister had the last throw of the game that got the touchdown, right?
Yeah, I think you're right. You're talking about when they're doing all the laddering and stuff. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. To Jerome
Pathan.
Jerome Pathan.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember him out of Washington. He didn't really have a spectacular career. I remember you guys picked him pretty high. I think it was like 3rd round or something.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just remember I was like, dude, this no-name receiver just scored. Like, how awesome does that feel?
Right. Yeah, I mean, that was awesome. I keep every once in a while the Saints will post it on their social media and they would say Throwback Thursday, and that would pop
Classic.
up every once in a while, and I will always remember that because, like I said, my dad was cussing up a storm once John Carney missed that extra point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So
it's funny because I know the Saints used to be in the NFC West, and I hate playing against y'all because I know it's always going to be a tough game. I'm always going to be biting my fingernails to the skin and whatnot. And the last couple of years, I think we had some pretty good battles. We had that one George Kittle just carrying everybody, the whole team on his back. That was nuts. I remember that because I was at a
Is this
buddy's
your
house.
favorite memory?
I mean, it kind of is.
Of course it is. That's a good one.
It kind of is, but it's also
a classic
not.
play.
It just because like I remember my buddy Victor, we're at his house in El Dorado Hills, and we couldn't like cheer super loud because he just put his son, who was newborn, to sleep. And remember, he had him in his arms, and when that play happened, we're all just like, we can't scream, we can't do anything because he's asleep. And like he ran and put him in the other room, and we're like, oh yeah, just all crazy. But
that's got to be the highlight of that year for the Niners.
Yeah, I mean,
they replay that one a lot.
It's just one thing that comes to mind, just because I remember like everybody like saying, "Oh yeah, look at Jimmy G can keep up with Drew Brees." I'm like, Drew Brees is still killing it, but at the same time, I'm reading on Twitter like, "Damn, Drew Brees." Like from Saints fans, like according to them, like, dude, this isn't the same Drew Brees. Don't get too hyped. I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Like if Saints fans are saying this, like that kind of killed my spirits. I remember that, fondly, because I was like, oh man, I thought Jimmy was killing it, but.
And then the next game was the Super Bowl, correct?
No,
there was a game after that.
Yeah, I think we had 2 more games after that. I think that was week 15.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that
was week 15. Oh, I thought that was a playoff game.
No.
Oh.
Playoff. I don't remember the last time. The last time we played against the Saints in the playoff game was
when y'all had Fernan Davis and Alex Smith, huh?
Yeah, that was the catch 3.
Yeah, that was a crazy game to watch. That was like
that game
2012 or 13. Yeah. And
another game, man, playing against y'all. I mean, just biting my fingernails. I just remember Jimmy Graham, Jimmy Graham was
going to the house.
Yeah, just going. I mean, how do you leave that guy wide open? He's the biggest motherfucker on the team, and like he's killing it,
rebounding.
I think after that, it was after that season where they banded people can dunk because I think he bent. He bent the goalpost and they had to replace it.
Yep, he sure did actually. Yep.
Yeah, Jimmy Graham, man. That guy was a monster.
Well, I say we move on to some future expectations. I know there's a couple things that we want to touch on here. We could start with the draft. You guys don't have much draft capital this year.
Well, before we get to the draft, before that, it comes in play with the draft because
what was that?
Before we get to the draft,
yep,
it all kind of comes in play.
Okay.
I mean, Duran, we have our mutual feelings about this character, but Marcus Davenport, you guys traded up for this cat, or do you see yourself either? Looks like he's due for a 5th-year option. Are you guys going to pick that up? It's gonna be about $9 million.
Nah, I don't see us picking it up, and he could be a guy that might get traded.
Okay.
It just all depends what we do with Trey Hendrickson. I believe if we re-sign him or not.
Underrated.
Yeah, I mean, he just came out of nowhere last year. He was one of the best players on defense last year, and I don't think he got enough credit amongst the entire league for how many sacks he was getting. I mean, he basically had 3-4 sacks in one game on Tom Brady. I believe one of them was taken away due to penalty, but man, he was destroying cats out there. But
yeah, he was.
I think it's depending on him and if we re-sign him or not. If we re-sign him, I think we might trade him. I don't think we pick up his 5th-year option at all because, he shows tons of potential and he shows why we traded up to go get him, but just hasn't been consistent when his health. He he seems to always get the injury bug, and he always misses about 6 or 7 games a year. And like, hey, I mean, we need something more consistent here.
Yeah.
I think the Saints over the years has always struggled with pass rush, and even though you had Cam Jordan, we just never had a guy opposite of him. And Trey Henderson was that guy last year, but ever since that, I mean, we really haven't had a guy like that. And Marcus Davenport is an elite run defender when he's healthy, but like I say, he's never healthy.
Yeah, it's crazy that Trey Hendrickson's about to get paid more than Marcus Davenport. I mean, looking back on it, you would have never thought that would be happening. But yeah,
to the point where I don't think we're going to be able to resign him because I think we're going to get outbid.
Yeah. I think he's going to come down with like 13, 14 million or something annually.
I still don't think he's worth that much.
No, just 1 year production. Nah.
Yeah.
Durant called it right off the back at the Senior Bowl. I mean, I remember him was like, dude, this guy's a monster. Look at him.
Davenport.
Yeah, Durant's like, wait, look at this one-on-ones real quick. And I'm like, dude, he's getting stonewalled by like a no-name lineman. That's crazy.
Yeah, I was never a fan of him. That's one drafting that I got right in all my years, but
it's all good, man.
That happens.
Durant, let's go on about the draft.
So, like I said, you guys don't have much draft capital this year, only 3 picks. You do have the number 28 overall pick, no 3rd round pick, 2 in the top 100. Is there a direction you want to go with this? I mean, it's so hard to predict right now, especially being that far back in the draft.
I do think we might get a compensation pick because of
who is it?
It was either
my dog.
It was either Aaron Glenn going to the Lions, because now they're giving teams draft picks when a minority goes to. No. What it was our assistant GM. He went to the Falcons to be the GM. That's why we're getting a pick. I think we're getting that. We're getting a pick for that. I believe. I believe that's pretty much it.
Damn, I want one of those. I got a minority quarterback leading my team. I need one of those picks.
Yeah, I mean. And Dak Prescott, man.
Yeah.
I would love him in the Saints uniform, by the way.
That's a whole nother show. But a little bit. Yeah, it's so hard to predict the draft and stuff this year, especially with you guys not having much draft capital and much wiggle room there. We did mention one cap casualty guy is probably going to be Quan Alexander. It'll save you $13 million. And especially if Drew Brees does not return, you guys would be able to make up a good chunk of that space coming back.
Do you guys see restructuring any of those contracts?
Well, Drew Brees actually gave up his $24 million this year. That helps right there. We cut Nick Eason, so that was $31 million we already have off the books. Quan Alexander is a guy that has no guaranteed money left. But we still owe him $2 million because of his injury settlement. But he's a guy, I think he's a strong candidate to restructure. We're probably going to pay him maybe $2 million this year. And then when he gets healthy, that's when we're probably going to spread out his contract, and honestly, he has no guarantees. And if we'll put in a signing bonus, but we'll probably have no guarantees. If it's pretty low. And, if it doesn't work out, we'll just cut him or trade him, kind of like we did with Kiko Alonso. And we traded Kiko for basically Quan. So I think he's a guy that's candidate to restructure. I don't think we cut him. So there's a bunch of guys we have to restructure. Like Janoris Jenkins is another big one. Do we cut him or restructure him? I know we're probably going to restructure a lot of our big guys like Cam Jordan, Michael Thomas, Armstead. I know that we could pick up Lattimore's and Ramczak's 5th-year option, and then we can extend them where, we wouldn't pay them a lot this year. A lot of their money would be on the back end of their contracts.
That'd be a great move, especially for Lattimore.
Backload a lot of these because you guys are right now. You guys are over the cap.
Yeah, by a lot. But when it's all said and done, after all the cutting and restructuring, I think we can get about 10 million under the cap.
Okay.
You know, and that's normally how we do it every year. Actually, we get about $10 million under the cap every year, and we'll see what we can work with. You know.
Yep. If you had to bring back one of these guys whose contract is up this year,
or tag them,
this is just defensive players. I don't know if you'd tag any one of these, but maybe you would. Trey Hendrickson, Sheldon Rankins, PJ Williams, Marcus Williams.
Yeah. You got to bring back Marcus Williams, man.
I think he's the best player out of that group.
Okay.
For sure. Even though the Saints do a good job of replacing their safeties, because we lost Von Bell last year, and I mean we kind of just let him walk. We lost Malcolm Jenkins before, even though we brought him back years later.
Oh, that's right, you guys did.
Yeah, so I mean, we do a pretty good job of replacing safeties, but I just think Marcus Williams is too talented. I think he's going to get Eddie Jackson money, what the Bears paid Eddie Jackson. So I think he's the guy I would bring back. I just, if Trey Hendrickson gets, too much money from other teams, I think we got to let him walk, because even though he was phenomenal last year, I mean, I think it's just too much for, a 1 year wonder possibly. So definitely Marcus Williams.
Okay. Good one. And just note these, 6 guys are all over 32 years old: Emmanuel Sanders, Jared Cook, Michael Jenkins, Janoris Jenkins, Cam Jordan, Demario Davis. So might want to get some young guys filling in behind those guys. I know a lot of them are still pretty damn good, but the NFL
I think we
not forever.
I think we end up cutting Emmanuel Sanders, and Janoris Jenkins is going to be a big time decision. Do we restructure him or do we cut him? I don't know. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a big decision, because he has been good for us, but he is getting up there in age.
Yep.
So that's going to be a tough decision. Because if we do restructure him, there's going to be a chance that, he might get a little worse because of his age, but also, it gives you still a security blanket that if you do.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think in the draft, we're probably going to go secondary heavy, because, there's a chance that, we might not have Janoris Jenkins. There's a chance that we might not have Marcus Williams. So you might see us draft a corner or safety, or maybe a guy that could do both, kind of like Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Sean Payton always loves them guys who could play multiple positions. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you see it in Taysom. His offensive lineman, his backup offensive lineman, they all can play any position on the offensive line. Yeah. He loves guys that can play different positions.
Mm-hmm.
So,
my advice to you is check out DB from Washington. His name is Elijah Molden. He plays multiple positions as well, and also the TCU safety. I can't pronounce his name.
Morig?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, but he has multiple snaps at slot, and he has multiple snaps at safety. So
yeah, I heard both of them guys actually. Yeah, you're right on with that. I would love a JC Horn, Joe Horn's son.
That would be dope.
That would be dream. Yeah, that would be the dream.
That would be kind of nasty with Lattimore and JC Horn. Do you think Lattimore will restructure his contract?
Well,
tag and extend, option and extend.
Yeah, we're definitely picking up his option. So he's at least got one more year with us. I would definitely think he would extend, because why would you pass up on that money?
He wants that Ramsey money.
Yeah, we're probably gonna give it to him, because I mean he's he struggles sometimes, but for the most part, I wouldn't say he's not elite, but he's good. Yep. So he's like fringe top 10, maybe. I would have to look at some other guys, but he's elite, still really
great, good, and he's fringe elite. I want to say, I like Lattimore for sure. Like Duran was saying in the beginning, man, it is.
I think he's elite. He's one of my favorite guys.
Yeah, one thing I saw him doing a lot of JC doing a lot of work with Ramsey. So
cool.
That was actually pretty neat to see that. You say JC Horn.
Yeah.
he's CB1 in some people's eyes. He's CB3 in a lot of people's eyes. So he could fall. You guys might have to trade up. But you guys are never scared to trade up before. So
Right, for sure. We're not afraid to trade up.
Thank God Dallas picks ahead of you guys. we need that corner safety help as well. Got it.
But y'all need a lot of things, huh?
You're telling me. Anything on defense, let's hit it. But I think we've made it to our $1 million question, the most talked about thing, especially in the last week or two.
This guy said he had a hot take on it. I got my beer ready.
Do you think that the Saints are real contenders for Russell Wilson? Are you a believer in Taysom Hill or Jameis Winston? If not, what would you be willing to give up? Let's hear your thoughts on it.
Let's hear this take.
Okay. Trading for Russell Wilson. This is Saints in particular. And if he was made available for trade, which I don't think he will be traded, the Saints would be the top. It would be the tippity top team for him. And I think that would be his top team. I mean, why would he put any of the other teams he listed over the Saints? But I tell you what, I'd rather Jameis Winston. And I tell you why. Jameis Winston is cheaper. He's younger. And he arguably has better arm talent. Now, Jameis Winston's problem is maturity and is mentally. So we see how he spent a year under Drew Brees and Sean Payton and see how he matures. I'd rather take the risk with him than trading 3 first-round picks, Cam Jordan, Ryan Ramczyk, Marcus Davenport. That's too much, man. Like, if I'm going to trade for Russell Wilson, and I think with the team we have now, let's say we don't trade any players, we just trade straight picks. I don't think that guarantees you a Super Bowl because honestly,
that'd be tough.
Yeah, the Seahawks are still a good team. So I don't think we're that much better than the Seahawks. I think we're better. We're not that much better. And like, I don't know, man. Like, I think they're going to want players. Simple as that, because if they trade him, that's $58 million in dead cap for the Seahawks. They're going to want players in return. So I think it's too much to give up to the point where, like, I want these players if I'm getting a Russell Wilson because I want to guarantee winning the Super Bowl with him. Because if I'm trading a guy like him, risking all this talent and assets, I want to guarantee a Super Bowl in his first 2 years of being here. I think it's too much risk. Risk. I'd rather risk it with Jameis. If it doesn't work out, that's fine. You know, if it doesn't work out, we're still going to be a winning team. We proved that last year. We proved that the year before that. Went undefeated with Teddy Bridgewater. We're still going to be a playoff team no matter what. So I'd rather just, take the chance with Jameis or Taysom, but most likely Jameis. And then if it doesn't work out, Sean Payton go find his guy in the draft. Why not?
Yeah, I do like that take with the Jameis thing, and it just might be because both you guys, Niners and Saints, have the best offensive minds in the game. And I think either one of those teams with Jameis could do some damage. And it's just, he's going to be a lot cheaper, like you said. You might even be able to get him on that Cam Newton type deal stuff. But the other thing is Jameis, I feel like, might have more strength in his arm, but Russ is almost second to none in accuracy. His accuracy is just on another level. So,
yeah, for sure. I know we had a guest on here. He was a Niners fan, but he's a big Florida State fan, Andrew. He loves him some Jameis. And if he heard you say that he has better arm talent than, Russ, he'd be like, put him on the Niners right now. What I'm curious about is what kind of contract would you give Jameis right now? I mean, he's a free agent. You guys got him for relatively cheap last year. What kind of contract are you throwing at him, bud?
I'm thinking somewhere like the Teddy Bridgewater, what Teddy Bridgewater got from the Panthers, maybe a 2-year deal, maybe add a 3rd-year option, maybe.
I like that one.
I think he should take that too.
Yeah, I like that a lot. The 3rd-year option, that's a smart move.
Yeah, like, about, $20 million a year, and it could be either boom or bust. And I think that's a fair deal, because, Taysom's making 16 this year. So
maybe
he's
add
paying more.
Yeah,
more
exactly.
To Taysom. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe add like some incentive, like, hey, if you reach a Pro Bowl, you get this.
Exactly.
Right now we're gonna your base is going to be like 16 mil towards our cap. But like if you get this much, if you like get this many starts, if you get, this, you know what I mean? Like, I know I know he towers over Drew Brees, but he has some big shoes to fill.
Oh, for sure.
And he's a guy, I'm not gonna lie, I shitted on him when he played for the Buccaneers. It was hard not to because that's a rival team. He's in my division, and he threw 30 interceptions with the Buccaneers. How could I not shit on him? But at the same time, he threw over 5,000 yards, and I still think he showed his talent, even though he threw them 30 interceptions. And the thing is, you take a deeper dive, was it really him with the interceptions, or was it Bruce Arians' system? Because if you look at the Bruce Arians systems, each quarterback that started their first year with Bruce Arians has either thrown their career high interceptions or came pretty damn close. Tom Brady this year, I think it was like one or two interceptions shy of breaking his career high interceptions.
Yeah.
Carson Palmer was pretty close to breaking his career high interceptions.
Okay.
So I believe it's a system because you look at the years past, he only averaged about 13 interceptions a year, which that's average for a quarterback, especially a quarterback that passes a lot.
Yeah, he passes.
Damn, I did not know that stat on the Arians. Arians fact, dude. That is some good knowledge right there.
It's that deep down the field stuff, man. They throw it out there, just leave it up for a lot of safety and corner play on it just because they do it. So, and I kind of feel like the Saints are the opposite. They keep a lot of stuff in front of them. They're not.
Right.
Maybe it was just with Drew Brees' recent offensive things, but he has a lot of weapons. Thomas, Kamara could take advantage of not just hucking it down the field like that.
Right, because Sean Payton, what he likes to do is he likes to use the West Coast offense. He likes to use the short passing game, kind of like his running game. That's why he would never fully commit to being a running team because he uses the short passing game like a running attack, technically, because it's pretty much the most efficient way to pass the ball. I mean, think about it, and you get about 5 to 8 yards a pass. It's a very efficient way of playing football and passing the ball. So he's always been that type of guy, type of offense. We'll use the short passing game, kind of like a rushing attack, and it will set up our deep ball passing. And which what we were missing the past year or two with Drew because he got older and got hurt more, so he wasn't able to do that.
Yep, I totally agree. I like that take, man. G, you got anything else?
Man, I got nothing else. But Sean, tell everybody once again where they can find you if they want to listen to your podcast, because I know I'm hitting that subscribe button because I love me some LSU football, even though I am a Texas fan at heart, but I love to watch me some LSU football, especially during the the Joe Burrow years, because I was a big Randy Moss fan, and I'd love to see his son tear it up.
Right.
So let everybody know where they can find you.
All right, you can find me on Off the Dome Sports on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. You can my Twitter handles right here, Sean_Mililtello1. You can also find Off the Dome Sports on YouTube and Twitch. That's where you can find us. Off the Dome Sports, we post the latest news and Saints, LSU, and Pelicans, and time for time we'll post some funny memes and stuff.
Got it.
Yeah, man.
I see one right here. Taysom Hill. Let's try every position.
That was our Valentine's post.
Yeah, your Valentine's.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Oh man.
All right, man. Well, I'll have all the links to everything you just said below, and thanks for joining us. We'll catch up again.
I appreciate it, man. It's been an honor to be on the show.
Hell yeah, man. Stick around for a little bit after. Look at Duran's background if you're watching. If you're not, you can follow us on any kind of platform that we have as far as podcast goes, Apple, Spotify, what have you. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Why We're Fans. Again, thanks again. Peace.
Cheers.